Hello everybody, Tiffany, Dragonflyer Studios here with you. I'm doing a little bit of a bonus video this week. It is Friday. My content normally comes out on Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays for those of you that follow me or are with me. However, I was asked for a video on paper beads. Somebody asked me, what do I use them for? How do I create them? And all that. So I just thought I would make a quick video and show everybody how to do these if you haven't heard of them. I know, goodness, we used to make these, I think, in grade school or whatnot. They were a lot of fun back then. And they're just as fun now. You can use them in your junk journals as dangles, decorations for tags, things of that nature. Excuse me, have hiccups. Things of that nature. So this is just kind of the drawer that I keep most of my decorations and dangles in. There are some things in here, like this is not my own creation. This was given to me by a friend of mine. I just got a wax seal kit, so I am currently playing around with making some dangles out of wax seals. But otherwise, most of everything that you see in here, these boho beads, I played around with that for a little bit. I really like the way that they turned out. They are meant to be clip-ons and will eventually have another dangle attached to them once I determine what they're going to decorate. So I just thought I would give you a rundown, kind of some tricks of the trade that I use when it comes to paper beads. What really makes the difference, there's a couple of things that you need to think about. One is the size of the dowel that you're going to roll your bead on. Like this is a chopstick. It is, I don't know if you can see, there it is. It finally came into focus. It's got a pretty good circumference on it. So, and then I do most of my bead rolling on just little round toothpicks. So, there's a difference there. And then I also gutted an ink pen. And so those are just kind of the different thicknesses. I'll show you what happens with that. Obviously, the bigger the circumference, the bigger the bead. Like this guy, he was rolled on a chopstick, I do believe. Of course, getting it back on there is going to be super hard. But yeah, that's a chopstick bead. A larger center hole or whatnot. And then this is an ink pen bead. So, there we go. Bigger round. And then this little guy here, of course, the varying lengths of it. This is a toothpick bead right there. So, it just depends on how big around you want your bead. And then, of course, so I call these, I don't really guess I have a name for them. These are my long beads, I guess, and then these are the short, fat, round beads. Both are made same basic principle as far as technique goes, but otherwise, yeah. And then and then these here, I don't know if you can tell the difference. Can you do this? Does the shiny come across? Oh yeah, you can tell that these are shiny. So these I've just coated with Mod Podge. Nothing fantastic there. You can coat most of your beads with just about any kind of PVC glue, white Elmer's glue, stuff like that, if you really want to seal them and kind of give them a glossy finish. I don't know if that's, there we go. See how that's kind of shiny there? That's just made out of a piece of text. So yeah, and there's different ways that you can roll them. Like sometimes I make cone beads. I'll show you how to make those. Doesn't want to come into focus unless it's sitting on my hand. But yeah, just cone beads. They're great for like little end caps, kind of like this, or rather, if you want to imagine a string going through here, you could put one here on this end and one here on this end, and it just kind of gives your dangle a different kind of look. So yeah, without further ado, there's another one. I just had some examples that I wanted to show everybody. Besides your dowel size that you're going to be twisting and rolling your beads around, the other material, I guess, that you really kind of need for this is, I use a glue stick to get my beads to stick. Y'all know I use Scotch Create glue for those, mostly because it has a pretty quick dry time, so I'm not sitting around either holding beads for a long time or waiting for them to dry. What's the other thing? Oh, paper. So for most of my beads, let's see, most of my long beads like this, I use magazine paper for. Anything thicker than magazine, you're gonna get a lot more bulk in the body of the bead. And so magazines covers, currently I am working with pages from a National Geographic. Just keep in mind that whatever page you're rolling with, so like this would face me, I'll end up with a yellow style bead. If this is facing me, I'll end up with a variated blue to, I don't know, gray white style bead. That was my kiddo, came flying out of his room. What are you gonna do? So yeah, and then for like these guys here, this is made out of wallpaper. It's just a tiny strip of wallpaper, just round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. And of course, the longer the piece of paper that you make, the longer it is, strip wise, the thicker your bead will be. So with National Geographic, they're not overly big. I think their pages are, oh goodness, let's measure one of these real quick. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll say 10 inches. If you're using scrapbook paper, which these right here, this guy right here was a piece of scrapbook paper. Also scrapbook paper. Most scrapbook paper, unless you're working with a scrap of scrapbook paper, they're 12 inches long. So they'll give you a little bit thicker bead. It just depends on what you're kind of trying to design for yourself. And that's the great thing that I find about paper beads is, goodness, the possibilities are endless. You can go with any color scheme you want, especially if you're designing a journal. Let's say you've got an all green journal in mind. You can find scrapbook paper in any shade, pattern, shape, or form of green and create your own custom dangles for that particular journal. So it's really great. So yeah, let's go ahead and roll up some beads while I've got y'all here, and I'll kind of show you the actual process of doing it. So I've already cut my my triangular strip, and what you need to keep in mind is however wide the base is here, that's how long your bead will be once it's rolled up. So I just started off with a 2-inch wide strip, and then I just cut it down to a point. Now what I do is I come back and I cut this off flat, and then I will also come in and angle the corners. And mostly what that does is it gives you a bead that looks like, let's see, get 2 examples here. When you cut the corners off here and here, it gives you a bead that's nice and flat once it's rolled up. If you keep those corners on and you roll it, you're going to end up with a bead with this little flap that's left over, which in and of itself, not that big of a deal, but as you can tell, it's going to start to bend. And I have had these catch-on things, and then it destroys the bead. So I have learned to cut that off, and then it gives you a nice flat edge on your rolled bead. The other thing, the reason that I cut this end off here is because it makes a difference in the way that your bead finishes out its roll. And also, if you're going to Mod Podge the outside of it, here's what happens. This is a bead that I did not cut down flat, and now it's permanently like that. I could go and probably pull that off of there, but the Mod Podge is set, and I don't want to destroy the seal. So it just is what it is. It's a hand-rolled bead. Whereas this one, the tip of it's cut off flat, and it lays down much more regularly. So those are just a couple things I've learned over the process of doing this, and I'm just going to start with this is just a round toothpick. So I'm going to determine, penguins. Okay, we're going to go with a gray-white bead on the other side. So super simple. It does take a little bit of finesse to get your paper started on whatever dowel you're using. You just want to make sure that the dowel that you're using sticks out on either one end or the other once you're done rolling. Because otherwise it's going to get stuck in the center, and then you're going to be hard pressed getting that puppy off there. So like this doesn't have much sticking out. However, I'll show you what to do. the most important thing, because you're working with a triangle, once you get it going pretty good, you want to kind of check to make sure it's not rolling crooked and you're getting all of your material on one end and not the other. If that's the case, as this one is starting to shift, you can just kind of work it back that way and then just continue rolling. Now, about that far into the process, well, gotta take the lid off first. I just put a little dab of glue and then I continue to roll it on down. I don't suppose you have to do that step, but that's what I do. And then as you get down closer to the end, you just want to make sure hit the end of that bead tab with not lots of glue, but just plenty of glue that it's going to grab and kind of smush out the end. And then I just take my bead and I just roll it back and forth until that glue gets a good second or two to kind of grab on. And then I'm just going to pinch here and push at the other end, and my dowel slides right out. And there you have it. Now later, if I decide I want to seal some of these with Mod Podge, I will take a piece of thread and thread it through. And then I have this wonderful little magnet that hangs over that way that I put the thread down behind, and the magnet holds it onto a metal shelf. Let's see if I can kind of show you the metal shelf. Bear with me. So that little metal shelf right there, see that magnet? I'll tuck a piece of thread up underneath behind that, and then my bead hangs down, and then it's kind of just a little free form as far as I just paint the Mod Podge on it, and then of course I put something on my Fiskars mat in case the Mod Podge drips, and then that way they can just air dry. So yeah, and there you go. There's a spiral bead, long bead, whatever you want to call it. And then I will show you how to make kind of one of the thicker, more round beads, which is kind of, I think, at least for me, I prefer using more of those, that style bead, than I do the long spiral beads. I'm sure they have a name. I just can't think of it right now. So I'm just going to come in here. Whoa, hold on, Bubba, just a second. Sorry about that. Kiddo needed my help. So all I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm just going to create myself a bit of an angle. There's really no science to it. You can cut these pretty much just about as wonky as you want. See, my paper is so slick it doesn't want to stay. There we go. And then the trick to getting the shorter, fatter beads is to not make this part up here so wide. So we're going to kind of go, oh, even that's too wide. We're just going to kind of go this way with this. There we go. Nope. There we go. Alright, so we'll just put that aside. And so this is what you have, what you're working with. And then you get to determine whether you want this is yellow and black on one side or red and white on the other. I think I'm going to go with red and white. So I'm going to grab my toothpick again, come in here, and I'm just going to shave off a little bit of this corner. I am going to leave this tip on here because that's what's going to give me the chunkiness of the bead. So because I want red and white showing, I have the red and white down towards the table. Now, these can be a little trickier to start rolling because if you roll it on there crooked, it's going to take on a different shape than the one that you maybe originally had intended. Alright. And then for the longer, chunkier beads, I tend to put more glue at the beginning. I found that oops. Yeah, my whole bead just shifted. And that's sometimes what will happen. I found that it helps the glue helps the bead hold its shape better. Should I drop this thing? it won't all entirely come unrolled on me. It's like a stop check in the middle of a domino build. Now this one is still going to come out more elongated and less thick because I am using, oh no, 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 see what I just did there? Just about messed up the whole bead. This one's still going to come out more elongated rather than thick because I'm using the magazine paper. If you'll give me a second when I get this done, I'll grab a piece of 12 by 12 paper. And you could play around with different ways to roll your paper. Like if you keep it straight on one edge, that'll give you that cone shaped bead that I created. You can just roll it evenly on one side, and they make for some really, I like the unique patterns that come out on these. Oh, look, I created an inadvertent stripe because the center of the bead slipped out. So, you know, and sometimes the beads fail. They'll tear on themselves or, you know, what have you. But there's that little guy. Cute little fella. All right, give me just a second. I'll be right back with some scrapbook paper. Hold on. Okay. I just went and grabbed a piece of red scrapbook paper. Mostly because I have more red than anything else, I think. So all I'm going to do here is just going to trim off a little sliver along one edge. And then I'm going to come back and kind of do the same angle on the other edge. Okay, now instead of my toothpick, I'm going to bring out, this is a darning needle that I've used before, and what I do is I take this, because it's scrapbooking paper, I use the eye of the needle to get my fold started. Now, this scrapbooking paper is white. It's got a white core. It's the white edge that you see. So if I were to be making beads on purpose or with any kind of design in mind, I would pick scrapbooking paper with a colored core so that the edge of the bead does not appear to be white. Okay. Now that I've got my paper kind of molded, I'll come back with my toothpick, and here's what I was talking about. See how it's straight on that side but started to bevel on this side? That's when you got to kind of come back and force it to go the way you want it to go. It can be a little tricky, but otherwise it's very therapeutic. Yep, see, there we go again. And it's easy to get kind of repositioned. Sorry for the AC unit running in the background. I know it bothered one of my viewers. I did apologize to them. It's just summer in Texas. There's nothing I can do about it. My studio would be, it would be miserable to be in here without it. So I do apologize if it does bother y'all. But you don't have to listen to me talk. Just put me on mute. I don't care. I will. No offense taken. I am just here to show you what you can do with all your wonderful paper crafts. You don't have to listen to my voice. Okay. So then just to finish this out, the hardest part is to keep the roll on your bead nice and tight so that it doesn't form an air gap or a bubble, so to speak. And it's really hard to get those little tiny tails to stick. And there you go. There's a nice little semi-round, fat-ish bead created for you. Now these ones, because they are so fat, you just gotta be careful when you pull them off that you don't pull your bead sideways and dishevel the meticulous little layer that you put together. And there you go. It's a nice little effect with the white edge. When you turn it, it gets white and then it goes back to red. But yeah, there's that little guy for you. So if you're working with a pattern paper, or like I said, one that's got a colored core in it, that bead would be red no matter what direction you look at it. I really do like the visual effect though that the white edge has on the rest of the bead. But there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna post this to the group that individual asked for a demonstration on, and hopefully it helps them along the way. Hopefully it has helped you along the way. Have some fun making some paper beads and decorating those journals, or whatever have you. You could make necklaces, or it's really fun for kids to do. I know that much. So like I said, this was a bonus video, so I will have another video coming out tomorrow. My content is usually available, or new content's usually available on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and watching what I do. If you're new, want to see more of what I do, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, give me a share, tell somebody about me. My channel is growing, and I try to keep things fresh. If you have any questions, if you want to see a demo video of anything that maybe you haven't seen, or want some more clarification on, drop that in the comments. I'll be happy to make another video for anybody who needs it. So until next time, this is Tiffany at Dragonflyer Studio. Thanks for watching.